a brand that has lived the Great Depression, and a brand that has lived Great Recession. Friends, I'm talking about none other than Levi's. I want to share this with you that Guinness Book of World Records has this unique record noted under them, and that is the highest price sold jeans in the world. And that jeans is a 150-year-old Levi's pair jeans sold on eBay in the year 2005 at a price of humongous price of 60,000 US dollars, close to 44, 45 lakhs in today's this one pair of jeans. And this is the pull of the brand that I'm talking about. It's also said that, if taken care, Levi's jeans can last for a decade. Today, I'm happy to introduce you to the MD of Levi's, Sanjeev Mohanty, MD of South Asia, Middle East, and North Africa. It is my pleasure to welcome him on the Leadership Dialogues. And we are going to talk to him about the current affairs that's going on in the industry. We're going to talk to him about the Levi's brand and how he can find an opportunity in adversity. Welcome, Sanjeev. Pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you, Hitesh. And I also want to take a moment, Hitesh, first of all, for having me on this talk. And secondly, I think I wanted to convey my gratitude on behalf of the retail industry for all the amazing work you and your incredible team are doing to help the industry in this time of crisis. I think under the leadership of Kumar and yourself, Gautam, I think so many other people I may not know, but I think all of you have been just doing an incredible job. And as an industry and on behalf of other leaders, all brands, small or big, I want to convey my gratitude for that.
Thank you very much, Sanjeev. I appreciate and I acknowledge that Rai has always stood with the industry, and we will not leave any stone unturned for the betterment of the industry. So thanks again for that. Moving on, Sanjeev, Levi's, a 167-year-old legacy. We would like to know from you, what are the values, the qualities that have enabled the brand to survive what I had given the introduction, several crises, and build a 167-year-old legacy till date. Your views on that, Sanjeev?
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting, Hitesh, because Levi's has been known as the original Silicon Valley startup before this term became very cool in the last decade, where some of the biggest technology companies are coming around the Bay Area, where Levi's is now located as a headquarters. And I think what is interesting is that that journey started with the day we patented the Levi's 501, and our founders, Mr. Levi Strauss and Jacob Davis, who was a co-founder, they patented the rivet at the pocket seams, and that came from a very small idea at the time of the gold rush, and that is how the company started. And as you rightly mentioned, I think Levi's has seen pandemics like the Spanish flu, world wars, 9/11, the falling of the Berlin Wall. I think all the moments which were important in the history in the last several decades or century, Levi's has been at the center of that. And I think one of the things which we are proud of is that we operate with our values. And there are 4 core values of Levi's, which are basically empathy, courage, integrity, and originality. And I think everything we do is around values and purpose. And I think our global president, Chip Bergh, who has been at the helm of this turnaround of Levi's in the last 8 years, particularly, and has brought it to be the one of the most loved brands in the world. And I think Levi's has been doing extremely well globally. I think it has been the strongest in several decades. I think we pride ourselves in the fact that we always put purpose first. We look at sustainability as a key value. We look at everything we do from a lens of purpose, helping the environment, helping the communities, helping the climate, and we always put profits before before purpose. So I think that is how this brand has survived so many crises across several decades. And I think we are very, very confident that we will survive this one for the next 167 years to tell the story, to our grandchildren.
Sure, sure. I mean, definitely, Sanjeev, 167 years is 1.5 centuries plus, and I think the values, the reason that it has survived are the four values that you have mentioned right now, the core to the survival of it. And I have been studying Levi's also, and all of us have worn this brand and are wearing this brand at least in any one of the stages of our lives, including today. So, once we come to this current scenario, Sanjeev, like since you are heading such a huge, vast operations, I want to talk to you about the India operations after the global one that you gave the preview about and what your values were. How are you, positioned in India? Something about your operations to start with.
Yeah, so I think India today manages not only the South Asia region, our operations are spread across regions of Middle East and North Africa, and which is a very vast region with 2.5 billion plus population. India, we launched 25 years back. In fact, this year we celebrated the opening of our first store, and it has been a 25-year long journey. And we have vast penetration into the market, whether it's standalone stores, which is in the region of around 450. We have multi-brand stores. We have a strong partnership with department stores, as well as we have strong partnership with e-commerce partners. We have our own site also in India, which is called Levi.in. We have distribution partners across Middle East and North Africa, and we have strong partnerships in several countries. We are present across around plus 20 countries, but our key, 5 markets are very critical for us in terms of driving growth and revenue. India being obviously, it's a large growth emerging market. Apart from that, I think UAE, the rest of GCC, Saudi Arabia is a market which we entered 2 years back and doing extremely well. We have a very good partnership and large presence in Egypt. We have a presence in Israel, and we are expanding heavily in those markets. And in India, I think it's a unique market for us because, Hitesh, we are the only market we have an integrated product engine, what we say, which means that India as a subsidiary is allowed through within the guardrails to define and design products which are basically very localized. And given the import duty structure here, I think we manufacture 96% of our garments in India and the South Asia region. And also we have a global sourcing team, which also services not only our India operations and the Middle East and North Africa operations, but also operations globally in the US and Europe and other markets. So it's a very unique subsidiary which has been at the forefront of all our innovations and bringing it to market and bringing it to life in a very agile manner.
Humongous operations, Sanjeev. I will have to have one more webinar with you only on how you manage this huge, vast territory and the markets. But coming back to the Indian scenario and what's happening, it's not an Indian scenario; it's a global phenomenon that we are all passing through currently.
Right.
And I wanted to know, how the brand is dealing with the impact of COVID-19 and on the business. So we wanted to know something from you. Initially, what were your thoughts, and how the brand has, come up across to deal with the current crisis, and then we'll subsequently get into the consumers and the digital part of our discussion and the e-commerce.
Right.
So your views, how are you managing the current crisis, and what do you feel about this, and what your thoughts are? How should we, go ahead with this?
Right. So I think I will look at it from a lens of, initially when this crisis happened, I think there was no view in terms of how long this is going to go on. So the kind of calls you had to take, which was basically, embedded in the fact that you needed to survive and survive, with the fact that sales had evaporated to zero in the month of April, and everything got shut down, and we went into a lockdown. And we had some inputs basically from other markets like China, which were basically coming out of the lockdown and the COVID scenario and actually getting back to normalcy. So, but every scenario, and especially India is a large and complex country. and therefore, you cannot directly extrapolate, but there are certain ways in which you look at operations and look at how you manage the scenario. So first and foremost, we always think of our employees and our partners and their employees, and make sure that they're healthy, and they're safe. So we had to ensure that everybody was following certain protocols. We were taking care of our employees, making sure that they stayed home and they were safe. And then we had to look at what would be the impact of this in terms of our overall operations. And there are different pieces to it. There are front end pieces to it. There was a back end piece to it. We had vendors where we had actually placed orders. So we had to look at that scenario. We had retail stores which were basically, gone for closures, and therefore we had to basically look at scenarios in which we had to say that if the sales were dropping, if it was closed for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, what would it look like? What would the sales look like if it were, it had a slow comeback? What happens if there was a W curve? So at this point in time, while as a leader, I'm somebody who is very optimistic. I think sometimes some of the lessons in leadership are that you need to go against your natural grain, which is very, very growth kind of a mindset, to come back and say that how do we really protect our business and make sure that we ensure survival, and look at a worst case scenario. I'm not the one to really look at worst case scenarios, but this is, I think, one of the first times in my career that I actually went against my grain, and we have a very strong leadership team here, and I think we all came together and everybody agreed that it is better to go with the worst case scenario and really look at projecting our business based on that. And based on that, you have to do a couple of things. You have to look at your network. You have to look at your store network. You have to look at your partner network and see and which are the stores which will basically survive if sales drop by 20%, 30%, 40%, and what is the kind of operational expenses you need to reduce. So it was basically around a lot of operations in terms of what orders you need to cancel, what you need to defer. There are fabric liabilities which are going to come over. There are vendor payments which are there. We have to also make sure that we are taking care of our vendors and partners. So I think it evolved into a multiple complex scenario, and obviously because we are a global company, I think you also get guidance. You're also able to talk to various other MDs and other markets who are in different phases of the curve, and based on that, actually, we worked out different scenarios. Obviously, we were wrong every time, like many of the other leaders might have been. But what is important is that we were very agile, and I think agility becomes one of the key tenets and one of the characters for any company to survive. And I think what is important to understand is that in a global multinational corporation, sometimes there are matrix structures. There are decision making matrix, which is basically regional and global. But what is important to understand is that our global and regional offices basically allowed a high degree of autonomy for and showed their trust and in the leaders and the teams, the same way I'm actually showing my trust in my team for them to take calls, because we need to move quickly and take decisions. So I would like to compare this scenario with the rules of the game getting changed, right? We have been used to playing a test match format of the game, right? And sometimes, for example, last year was one of the worst years of the economy in decades, and we had a very slow economy last year. So you tend to get into crisis like this. For example, demonetization. It was a high impact. Things were really disrupted. Then there was the GST implementation for us. So I think one of the advantages I think we have in managing businesses in India, and especially fashion retail business, is that the landscape from a geopolitical point of view, a landscape in terms of macroeconomic point of view, tax point of view, is always changing. So you have already built a muscle to manage crisis and complexity. So it is not that difficult. So sometimes you get from a test match kind of format to a 1 day kind of format. But I think this is unprecedented. I think this is basically got to a situation which is a shorter format of the T20 format of cricket. So I think you need to move very quickly. You need to be decisive. You can't be brooding over decisions you made wrong, because every day, every week, things are changing. That Bangalore went into a second lockdown and now it's open. We don't know what's going to happen. But I think business needs predictability. And therefore, you need to move around your strategy in terms of if brick and mortar is closed, can you actually, scale your e-commerce business? Can you go digital? So I think we will talk about, what we did from a digital standpoint and the kind of investments we made. So there are multiple projects which are going on in terms of making sure that we go into a revive mode, and we are ready to go into a revive mode as things settle down and we get a vaccine. Hitesh, we can't hear you. You're on mute.
Sorry, apologies. Sanjeev, you mentioned that you had to take decisions, and this is a predicament of each and every CEO, MD, owner. That what decision should I make? Basis the past or what is going on current, and current means this 4 months that I have done, or what I'm going to get in future. So if I take this 4 months as a decision making point, which I have to, because that these 4 months have made me take these decisions. I also have to rely on my brand, my past, but then that past is as good as yesterday or today, let's say. But tomorrow, it's all about tomorrow and survival.
Hitesh, you're on mute.
What are the parameters, or on what basis you take a decision, Sanjeev?
So I think there are several parameters. I think one of the key parameters is looking at conserving cash and making sure that you still have a healthy balance sheet. And based on that, a lot of the decisions initially, because there is no predictability of revenue, you need to make sure that what are the kind of operational expenses cost which you can really bring down to make sure that with that minimal revenue and the climb back and the clawback which is basically happening, how can you survive that? Because you have to pay salaries, you have to pay vendors, you have to continue to do minimal investment in building the brand. If you are actually going heavy in terms of a digital channel, you have to make technology investments. So there are some very long-term investments. You might have to really pull that back and hold that for some time. There are medium-term investments. There are also, it's a question of prioritization. So I think we need to prioritize something, first of all, to survive through this crisis till the end of the year or the first quarter, but make sure that the fundamental DNA of the brand is not altered, and the fundamental premise on which you have built the brand and the strengths of the brands are basically amplified when you actually go ahead and come out of the crisis. So you will do everything which is important to make sure that when everything goes back to normal, you will be the first brand and the first company to get off the starting block quickly. And you should not then be really scrambling for options at that point in time. So a lot of the decisions were basically based on that. What is most important for me is the fact that the way you look at your leadership team and the second and third and fourth level of leaders. And what has really shown me is that there are some leaders who are great in terms of a normal scenario. There are some people who are very silent, but they step up tremendously in the time of crisis. So we have been able to see a lot of our leaders stepping up in ways we could not have imagined earlier. And I think having an outstanding team is something which really shows up very well at the time of crisis. And that is what I think is something which has really made me very, very positive, is the fact that the kind of resilience which has been shown by very, very young leaders on the ground, and the kind of decisions, the kind of agility in decision making, the quality of thinking which is coming across from my leadership team and my employees across the board has been just very, very heartening. And we are able to identify future leaders, because I think a crisis always exposes tenacity, grit, leadership, higher order of thinking, and long-term strategic thinking, as well as excellence in execution with no playbook or template. I think that is something which is very encouraging.
Resilience, agility, high class thinking. You used all these words, which has definitely made you today take all those decisions. But one question which I would like to ask from the brand's perspective is, how do brands ensure that they adopt without changing their core values? Because what happens in this kind of a scenario, your core is definitely going to be affected if not changed. But in most of the cases, we have seen that the core also is getting changed.
Yeah. So So, Hitesh, we have a very clear four-pillar strategy. The four pillars of our strategy are, grow the core. What is our core? Our core is our denim business, right? We invented the blue jeans, 150 years back. So that is, grow the core is always, one of the first pillars of our strategy. Expand for more. What does it mean? It means that, expand, categories and segments like women's wear. Women's is a very, very important category. Be seen as a lifestyle brand, which means that tops is also a very, very critical category for us to grow and expand. Accessories and footwear. So expand for more actually encapsulates that. The third pillar of our strategy is to be a lead omni-channel digital player. I think, and this is a strategy which has not been born out of this crisis. We had this four-pillar strategy for the last 8 years. Uh, the fourth strategy is operational excellence. Basically, execute everything seamlessly and with excellence. So these are the four key pillars of our strategy. I think if you look at this crisis, we continue to actually pivot into these four pillars. We might dial up some of the strategies around, given the crisis and the way consumers are behaving. We might want to go a little deeper into innovation around, doing better tops or selling more tops for some time. We might pivot from a brick and mortar expansion strategy to expanding and growing on digital and growing our omni-channel, curbside pickup, and those kind of things. From excellence and execution point of view and operational excellence strategy, I think that remains at the heart of everything we do. So I think if you look at these four pillars of strategy, you will do innovations which are basically going to be adopted by consumers and accepted by consumers in this scenario. So if people are working out of home, we are basically going to be selling them more denim, which is dual stretch, which is very comfortable to wear. We have Levi's engineered jeans, which is again, made for comfort, and it's a high degree of innovations. We might be selling them more of indigo shorts or those kind of things. But our four pillars of our strategy in terms of how we drive our business, they remain constant and they don't change.
Sure. Sanjeev, I want to ask you about your ecosystem partners. And you spoke about the front end, the back end, the vendors, etc. How is it that the partners also have been affected across the country and the globe for each and every brand wherever they
Yeah.
are across the value chain? How has Levi's managed to handle this crisis during this last couple of months? The
Right.
partners,
So
basically. Yeah.
So we have been in constant touch with our partners, whether it's our front-end partners, whether it's our French. We primarily run, Hitesh, a franchise business. Out of the 450 stores we have, I think only 3 O&O stores, owned and operated stores, are there.
Okay.
Everything is run with
Franchise.
deep partnerships, yeah, which is more than sometimes 2 decades. Some partners have been with us for since the beginning. Some have been there for more than a decade. So I think partners, one of the things which partners across the board value about Levi's is that Levi's is one of the companies which actually runs its business with its core values, right? So they know that, and they have seen multiple crises with Levi's, and Levi's always stands behind its partners, whether it's any kind of crisis, whether it's a front end partner, whether it's back end vendors, and we have been partnering deeply with them. So during this crisis, I thought we have an opportunity to really see how we can, optimize our business. So if there are stores which are at the edge, which have not been profitable, you move on from there. You look at opportunities. You see how we can support the partners. Make sure that we are able to help them and give them a sort of outlook in terms of what could be the growth opportunity next year. Make sure that we don't have any fabric liability. If they have taken some calls, we utilize all of those. We make sure that we're working with partners to ensure that we are training the staff. We make sure that they are able to have all the right selling tools. Right now, it is not possible to basically do a physical order booking collection. So can we provide B2B digital tools? How do we plan the future expansion? What are the kind of investments which are required? Making sure that they are taking care of the employees. So I think it's working at multiple dimensions, and our teams at the region. I'm personally actually interacting with our partners, making sure that we are looking at this crisis as an opportunity to optimize the business, make it stronger, so that when we emerge out of the crisis, we emerge stronger, and make sure that even though we have a business which is slightly smaller, but as we look at the end of 2021, we look at a business which is far stronger, more profitable stores which are perhaps larger, better position in the malls. And I believe that if you are a very strong brand, and today Levi's has pole position in terms of market wear in the denim segment, as number one denim brand for both men's and women's. And I think what is going to happen is that it is going to allow us to all the actions we are taking today is going to allow us to emerge stronger and actually create a gap and consolidate our market share and market position even further in all the markets. So I really look at it as a opportunity, and all the actions we are taking, all the partnerships we have, I think this is going to survive. They're going to survive this, and they're going to emerge stronger from that.
Sanjeev, you mentioned about selling also. In current scenario, the stores are almost half the stores are closed, or maybe more than half. How do you sell? And one thing you spoke about was, out of your 4 strategic pillars, one of them is lead omni-channel. And to be a true omni-channel, and you have been associated in the past with e-commerce companies as well. You have launched a company operated e-commerce platform. And how is it doing? And what is your strategy to go truly omni-channel, and especially in this times where physical retail is a bit slow or difficult to happen?
No, absolutely. I think very clearly, and this is a journey we undertook, I think, 4 years back. So it is not
Okay.
that we are starting something now. So there are, multiple parts of this omni-channel strategy. We already have deep partnership with, our wholesale, .com partners like Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, Ajio. These are the 4 key partners we work with. We also have Levi.in, which has been scaling very well. Right now, we are in the process of, having our own marketplace technology partner. We implemented a new CRM technology layer. We are actually exploring partnership with, for Omni. We already have endless aisle in our stores. So all of that is coming together and coming to life. We are looking at the next level of implementation of SAP. The SAP HANA platform, which is happening globally. We are looking at exploring RFID. So I think from a technology point of view, we have multiple platforms, and these are all global initiatives, which, and India being a fast-growing market and a technology hub, a lot of these technologies which are implemented globally come to India for pilot. So we have been lucky that a lot of these came into our fold, and we started implementing and working on them from the last 2 years. And right now we are fast tracking that. So across the board, whether it's a new WMS, new CRM, omni channel technology, or it's marketplace technology layers, the basic infrastructure technology in terms of SAP, all of that is coming together. And we also are going to be implementing very soon the Oracle X Store for POS. So when you look at the stack, and if you look at the layers sitting on top of each other, we will have a technology platform which is going to be very robust, as well as very forward-looking, and should be good enough for the next 10 years. So I think we are just lucky that we have been on our journey much before this crisis, and with the cutting edge of technology and global technology partners.
That's good to hear. You are all set to tackle the crisis with fully loaded technological initiatives that you had taken a few years back, Sanjeev. Now, using this same technology, I'll shift to the consumers now. How do you target your consumers today? When, as we just discussed, that physical retail currently is slow, and there is a great shift towards getting, diverted to online, either by design or by default. But keeping that in mind, that the consumers today are getting more and more online, how does Levi's target its consumer today? And this more from a marketing perspective, so that ultimately at the end of the day, we all want to do business, and we want a market share and mind share to grow. Now, what is the communication that Levi's has started or is about to start with your consumers during these times? And how do one target the consumers to get back buying their brands?
So I think, Hitesh, we have been engaging with our consumers, even before the crisis, and we continued that engagement. It is, we may have gotten off television, but I
Yeah,
think from a digital point of view, I think we amplified our digital engagement with consumers. Whether when we launched the Super Mario collection. So we engaged with them on that. We had the Levi's Circles campaign, which went digital. So there are different levels of engagement we have been doing through various social platforms. We have been talking about how to repurpose and customize your jeans for home wear and for your Zoom calls and things like that. So I think there has been a huge effort around that. What we have done in this crisis, as you rightly said, that as stores are slow to open or they've gone back into closure, we have been engaging deeply with our e-commerce partners. We have been spending on their platform because consumers are actually gravitating to that. Consumers are coming there to really with the intention to purchase. So we have been with whatever advertising budgets we have, we need to amplify and optimize as well. So also I think the a crisis also presents opportunity in terms of making sure that how you optimize every single rupee and dollar and make the maximum use of that. So whether it's special events which are happening, or we are using the marketing tools which are available with Flipkart or Amazon to target specific consumers and try to cross sell and upsell to them. So that has been that has done pretty well. I think business on e-commerce is far ahead of last year and also pre-COVID. So I think that's good news. And we are also seeing that in the stores which are open, I think slowly business is climbing back, but nowhere close to what we would have expected it to be, because there are complexities which are involved in terms of the shopping hours. Sometimes the stores are closed on weekends. There is a local interpretation which also RISE really trying to help with the state governments in terms of how local municipalities are interpreting the law and the MHA orders in different markets, and there are different closure times, and I think it's a pretty complex scenario. But we believe that we'll have to continue to engage with consumers and continue to make sure that we are doing something which is unique. We are offering them unique product offerings and make sure that there is something for them to really venture out and come to the stores and shop. And we believe that it's going to happen, even though it's pretty slow right now. We are hoping that things will change as we try to flatten the curve, hopefully before festive season.
sure. Something for the consumers to venture out and come to our stores. Now, what is that something and what is that mantra? Or maybe, this is a question that everybody is asking, that what will drive the consumers today? First of all, they need to come out of their homes. That's the first challenge that we are facing. And then coming to our brand stores is something which is the second challenge. But how do you do that, Sanjeev, according to you, what your experience is?
I think if you look at the situation today, you need to also, like, we have built a very strong consumer loyalty base, right? So I think we cannot be, if you have very few bullets to fire, you will want to first engage with those consumers who are very loyal to your brand, and we have millions of loyal consumer, and we have a loyalty base. So we are actually engaging deeply with them. We are telling them about our new launches. When we launched the Super Mario collection, it was a new news. So consumers are looking for new news, new innovative products. They are looking forward to something which is apart from the usual stuff they have seen. So it's new fits, new collections, new technology. I think that is what is going to excite them. And for example, in some parts of the market, we launched the Levi's and New Balance collection, which was sold out in seconds. So consumers, queued up despite social distancing, and they arrived at the stores. So everywhere you're seeing when brands come up with something new, something exciting, something which consumers have not seen, that is the only way to basically get them to the stores. I don't think that anything else or offers or anything like that can really drive that urge or desire to basically go and shop.
Sure. This question is more from an investment perspective, and this is a generic question. Is this a good time for brands to invest? If yes, then invest on what?
I think it's a good time to invest because you can get a bargain everywhere. So whether it's if you missed an opportunity for a flagship store in one of the key shopping centers or key high streets, I think now is the time to really invest and get that location
Yeah,
at a price which will be, it's a risk, but any investment which comes at a bargain is always fraught with risk. It's the right time to invest in anything which had organizational change resistance. And there are so many projects, and whether it's technology or ways of working or adoption of new tools, which has tremendous organization resistance. Now is the time to basically invest on those tools and make that change, whether it's in terms of technology or long-term partnerships with key partners. I think one of the things which I've seen is that across the board, everybody is open to new ideas.
yeah,
Everybody's open to radical ideas. Everybody's open to change. So I think this window is not going to come for another decade or so, unless as they say, never let a crisis go to waste. And I think that applies to investment also. Obviously, I think cash and capital is a constraint for traditional businesses. May not be a constraint for a lot of the startup ecosystem, which are sitting on cash. But I think, therefore, you have to choose your investments carefully. You have to choose your investment based on what could be the exponential impact when things go back to normal.
sure. So I think this is the opportunity in adversity, investments, technology, omni-channel that we spoke about. I think all these are opportunities for brands to scale up and be prepared for the future. With this segment, Sanjeev, we move to the other parts for the brand, which which I always wanted to ask you is about the sustainability part. And how does a clothing giant like Levi tackle the questions of sustainable fashion that the textile industry is getting fraught with?
So I think sustainability is now become sort of a buzzword in the textile and apparel industry. But Levi's has been on this journey for decades now, and I think uh, the way I would like to put it is that Levi's has sustainability sewn into its fabric and DNA since the time the brand was invented. So this is something which is in our DNA. It is in the DNA of every employee, every partner. And I think there are various multiple pillars of sustainability. One, I think one of the largest impact we are making is in the area of saving water. We have a technology which is called waterless technology, and we've already saved around 3.5 billion liters of water globally through our jeans. Today, around 69% of our denim globally is made through the waterless technology, and you'll be happy to note that India and the denims we sell here, more than 90% of our denim is made through waterless technology. So we are leading the pack in our country in terms of the denim which our consumers wear has waterless technology. We have recycled more than 200 million liters of water, and we have also, I think, one of the things which we have done, and that is part of our DNA, is to share this technology with our competitors. So sometime last year we actually invited 20 of our key competitors to come to our innovation Eureka lab to share and open source this technology. And we
Oh,
are doing the
great.
same thing in terms of our use of the screen chemistry is another initiative which we have taken, where we are actually saying how can we eliminate hazardous chemicals from our processes. And we have also open sourced that technology and that innovation to our competitors. We truly believe that, I think, the industry and as a brand, we should be an evangelist for climate change and for our environment, for our communities, and the kind of impact it is happening, which is happening on our environment. So we truly believe that we need to partner not only with change agents, but we also need to share this with our competitors. and we need so that everybody can have an outsized impact. For example, in terms of water saving, we are also saying that we have a goal of having using 50% less water in water challenged environments and markets and countries where, for example, South Africa, which is facing a huge challenge in terms of a water crisis. So how can we prioritize that and help in terms of water saving? So I think the other part in sustainability we are very passionate about, and we have done huge progress is cottonized hemp, and we have a collection which is called Well Thread, which is one of the most sustainably made collections which we have launched as yet, and that is something where we are actually growing hemp and actually giving it the qualities of cotton so that the usage can be scaled, and that hemp actually takes much lesser water than cotton, and also it grows much faster, so allowing it to be a far more sustainable fiber than cotton. So there are multiple platforms on which we are actually building the whole sustainability game, and we are actually changing the game and raising the game for the industry and leading it from the front.
Sure. Another question was from the customization part, especially the FLX part and this. How has Levi's as a brand, ensured customization in its DNA?
Yeah, so I think one of the key innovations we came up with was future-led innovation called FLX, where we're using laser technology and patented laser technology to basically eliminate a lot of manual processes, like use of potassium permanganate, sandblasting, and many other things, and allowing consumers and giving the innovation and customization in the hands of consumer, and allowing us to be far more agile and far more sustainable. And I think this technology is allowing us to bring innovation to life at a very low cost and scale it across the globe, and especially in denim, where the processes are so complicated and it takes a long lead time. So it is not only helping us be more sustainable, it is also allowing us to have take customization to the masses. So that is something which is very, very exciting. We have also taken it online, and we are allowing consumers to actually design their own finishes and washes online and getting them shipped to them.
Sure. And no, we did also speak about technology and the innovation part, especially, I've heard about the smart jacket, and, there's a presentation after this, just 2-5 minutes for this to go. Just wanted to know more about the technology part in the product that you have been using.
Yeah, so I think one of the technology we discussed was the FLX technology, which is basically changing the rules of the game and really elevating innovation and bringing it to a large base of consumers. I think Google Jacquard is at the forefront of innovation. I think we partnered with Google 2 years back and brought in the Jacquard innovation where the smart fibers are woven into the Levi's trucker jacket. And actually, we celebrated 50 years of the Levi's trucker jacket in 2018. And this is interesting because what you can do with this is just unreal. So you can actually tap your jacket cuff sleeve, and you slide your hand and do many things in terms of whether it's getting instructions from Google Map, checking the temperature. You can actually take selfies, photographs. So it is just making sure that your usage of the technology and embedding it into the fabric is the next level of innovation. And I think it has crossed a tremendous amount of excitement with our consumers, and it is being adopted in many markets. And we are hoping to bring it to India very, very soon. And I have one jacket, and I use it very often. And it's a next level of innovation. I hope I can get you one, Hitesh, very soon.
Thank you. Collaboration. No, we have seen that collaboration is the game, and it's one of the buzzwords. Also, it is one of an imperative for all the brands to collaborate with each other. Rai had done a full-fledged retail leadership summit last year on collaboration and collaborative retail. Levi's also has done a lot of collaborations. Can you give some examples about those, Sanjeev?
Yeah, so I think collaboration also shows the strength of the brand, and it brings a sort of a halo effect to the brand. So I think it allows to elevate the game for the two brands which are basically collaborating. And you have to basically make sure that the collaboration partnerships are very, very carefully chosen. And we have been very lucky, and Levi's has been at the forefront of bringing really game-changing collaborations, whether it's basically Levi's and Jordan shoes, or the recent one with New Balance, the one I spoke about in terms of Super Mario Brothers. We have a Peanuts collaboration, which is basically coming up. And we have across the years, we have done multiple collaborations, whether with brands like Supreme. So there are different levels of collaboration. Some are very mass, some are very, very exclusive, some are limited edition. So I think if you look at the various layers of the merchandising pyramid and the pricing pyramid, we have embedded collaboration as a part of our DNA, and that is going to, you will see a lot more collaborations which are going to come in. And one of the collaborations which we are going to be launching very soon is very, very exciting for me, because I'm a motorbiker, and we are collaborating with another iconic brand called Royal Enfield. But what is important to note, that when we bring this collaboration, the level of technology, the level of innovation is at the next level, and we'll be very happy to reveal that in a few weeks to a millions of fans of Levi's and Royal Enfield. They will see products which they have never ever imagined in their life. The kind of technology, the kind of safety, the kind of fiber comfort across the board, and the kind of design we have collaborated with is just incredible.
Sure. We'll go to the presentation now, and then before that, I'll just ask Sanjeev this final question, and this is before the presentation. Then we'll take the questions from the audience also. We have got a couple of them. I would request Darius to switch on the presentation in the meantime. Sanjeev, community engagement is also one of the great, we can say, pillars of Levi's, which over the years and decades you all have engaged the community in a
Right.
certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that happen, and any example that you would like to share with us? That how are you engaging the whole community? And we can start with the presentation subsequently.
Right. So I think community engagement is critical to the way we actually look at the world. And I think it is important to really collaborate and give back to the community. So whether it's a Levi's music project, or it's about projects around sustainability, we have multiple community collaborations which are there. I think one of the things we did recently in Miami, where we set up a Levi's collaboration and a Levi's Park, where we are able to actually showcase Levi's made and crafted. We had FLX Design Station. We collaborate with local artists in India. We collaborated with artists like Nuclear. We have collaborated with artists like Raja Kumari. So similarly, globally, we have collaborated with Alicia Keys, Justin Timberlake, Snoop Dogg, and bring this collaboration to give back to the community, to support local communities. And that is, we have a Levi's Red Tie Foundation, which does a lot of community work. It helps also support employees. So I think everything we do is about, giving back to the community, and this is part of our Levi's DNA. And I think we will continue, and you will continue to see such collaborations across the globe in different markets. And I think music and being at the center of culture is part of our DNA, and we are doing a lot of stuff around that. And I think also Levi's takes a very bold stand, and I think our president Chip Burke has taken a stand on on gun violence, on Black Lives Matter, and many other community and global issues. And I think Levi's founders have built this brand on giving back to the community, and will continue to do that. One of the things I want to talk about is also how we are impacting our workers globally. So we have a worker well-being program, which basically talks about which takes care of our workers and making sure that their health and safety is taken care of. And 200,000 workers globally are impacted by this program. And we talk about their health, we talk about their financial education, to make sure that in the communities where the vendors and the factories are located, a lot of them are women employees. And we have something called Project Her, and we are able to, educate, teach, upgrade their lives so that, they can impact their families and their communities. Hitesh, we can't hear you.
Sure. With this, we'll just go to the couple of slides that we had made, and I would request there is, we can to share the screen. Yes. Can we go to the first slide, please? Sanjeev, you would like to take us through. Can we go to the previous slide? Previous one, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can just go on, Hitesh. I think I spoke about all of these.
Yeah, so this
just,
is about sustainability. These are just some slides that we wanted to show you. But this is one about sustainability, and we can keep moving. This is something that 3.5 billion liters of waters that have been saved.
The waterless technology, which we spoke
technology,
about.
Yes. Next, please.
This is the whole FLX technology and the big process shift, and yeah.
The laser one that you spoke about.
Yeah.
Okay.
We spoke about hemp.
Okay.
You can play the video perhaps.
Yeah. So these denims are made from this hemp.
Cottonized hemp, yeah.
Okay, cool. And this one is the jacket that you were talking about.
Yeah, the Jacquard, Google Jacquard project. Yeah, you can actually show the video. It's an interesting video.
Yeah. Is the video on? Okay.
Yeah, this is the one.
This one.
The weather downtown is currently at 65 degrees. Today at 10 a.m. you have a dance audition. Traffic is heavier than usual. It will take you 23 minutes to arrive at your destination. Turn left on Broadway Avenue.
Yeah, I totally get it, Brett. But hey, I'm about to jump in the elevator. I'm losing you.
So Sanjeev, there is a chip inside this jacket that makes
there's
it work?
a chip also in the cuff, but also the cuff is basically woven with smart fibers, and that's how you're able to control that. Yeah.
Because I saw these guys are touching here and talking and taking directions from Google, etc.
Yeah.
Sure. So that's about it from the presentation side. Sanjeev, I would like to take a few questions from the audience. We have got at least more than 85, 90 odd questions, and plus the questions on the platform. One question to Sanjeev here is, did you work on altering your product offerings in different geographies?
Yeah, so I think we have a very clear merchandising strategy across the globe. And I think what is important is that there is a core offering, which is important and which basically defines the DNA of the brand, which is offered in every geography. So that is something which cannot be compromised. and that is something which is a must-have, and you must have in every market and every store. And then there are different tiers of merchandise assortment which are there, and based on the kind of pricing. For example, there is a large portion of Levi's vintage collection which is not offered in India, because those collections are limited editions, and we sometimes get it. But then there is a Levi's made and crafted. There is a Levi's premium collection, which we have a large part of that collection. There is something which we have, which is the heart of the Levi's offering. So collaborations like Peanuts or Disney or Super Mario, which is again a must-have collection which you need to take. But there are offerings. For example, I spoke about it in India, where we sell a lot of the polo T-shirts, which may not be available globally, which is locally designed for local consumers, or it's a large shirts market here. So while we have what we call standard shirts, which is basically your sawtooth shirts in denim, and those are part of the standard offering, there are certain kinds of shirts which are only available in India. So there is a 20-30% play which is allowed in certain large scale and global markets. But I think if you look at the global collection, if you walk into a store in Milan, Paris, San Francisco, you will find that 50 to 60% of the collection is very common. You might have different price tierings and different parts of the collection available or not available, but the core collection, you will feel that you're looking at the same Levi's collection anywhere globally. Hitesh, I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Sorry. The second question that has been asked here is, how has the brand made sure that they stay relevant to each passing generation? Now, we spoke about 1.5
centuries,
1.5 centuries and 167 years. How has the brand stayed relevant? It's a very relevant question, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a fantastic question, and I think one of the things which Levi's has managed to do, and one of the strategies, is that we always stay relevant by being at the center of culture moments, right? So what is the center of culture moment? So when the Woodstock was happening, that music movement was happening, Levi's was there, it was embedded. When the Berlin Wall was falling, Levi's was there. When there is a big moment which happens, any cultural moment, we make sure that we are embedded into the moment. And cultural moments are moments which define the decade, right? So, your dad perhaps would remember that, when he went to that Beatles concert wearing his Levi's jeans, or his first day in college, he may be wearing a 501 fit, but we have something. So we reinvent the appeal of the product to the consumer by participating in center of culture moments, collaborations, making sure that we are relevant to that consumer, whether it's millennials or Gen Z. And we also innovate around our product without actually forgetting our heritage and the core. I think that is something which is really integral for a brand which is 167 years old to stay relevant right now. For example, we did something which is basically a high ball, jeans. So it sits slightly above the ankle so that you can showcase your sneakers. Basically, you can show off your sneakers. Or if you look at the new fits in women's, the high waist fits or any of the new fits which we have, it basically speaks to the the movement, the style movement, which is basically happening. Customization of trucker jackets. Now, somebody's father might just wear a simple trucker jacket, which is classic, and it could be, would have been worn in 1950s, 60s, 70s. But somebody could be also customizing it with patches at a tailor shop. We have a customization station at our stores and making them their own. So it's a mixture of, how you participate in the moments of culture, how we participate in what the youth are doing, whether it's online, whether it's offline, whether it's music projects, whether it's, different collaborations. And that helps us to be relevant to the new generation, new consumers, but without distancing ourselves to the older generation. So it's a very interesting coexistence and being relevant. And what is also interesting is the fact that you said in the beginning when you opened the presentation that Levi's denim was sold for $60,000. I think Somebody, in fact, I was in a webinar and somebody said that you should classify Levi's as a consumer durable because it just lasts and lasts and lasts. And I have some classmates from school who
Yeah.
actually sent me a picture from Chandigarh saying that
Okay.
her kids had been actually passed on her grandfather's denim jacket because he had been to the US and he had got his trucker jackets. And those jackets were just exactly intact, and the kids had actually done some sketches on them and put some patches to make them look cool. So, and I think she said that those were bought in 1961, and
Oh,
those have been passed on to her kids who are now 17 and 18. So there are millions of such stories, and the brand just outlives its wearer by decades.
so this is a testimony of the brand that it outlives the wearer by decades. And since 1960, 61 jacket is being worn today. I think that is the testimony of the fact that why this brand is a cult brand. So with this, we are at 5 o'clock, Sanjeev. You know the time has just passed. I have got at least, as I told you, 85 questions. I have just asked two and three maybe. I would like to sum this whole discussion, but before that, I want your final comments, especially the key reads and trends that are visible from the consumer behavior today, from what the industry is going today. I want your final comments to the to all the retailers also about the businesses and the times to come. What is it that you see? What should be done? Succinctly, if you can, tell us about your final comments.
Yeah, I think a couple of trends very clearly. I think the level of disruption which has happened and the fact that brick and mortar has stayed closed. I think digital is going to be the way of life. I think e-commerce and omni are going to continue to dominate. If you think that everything goes back to normal, this is going to go back to normal. That's not happening. I think there are certain categories which are going to get disrupted. For example, consumers are going to be working from home for quite some time till the time we have the entire world population which is vaccinated. So I think it's going to be challenging in terms of working on a heavy cost structure, something which is middle path in terms of without an innovation. If you have products or categories where you are not able to get leadership, I think it's only right to exit those categories and just focus on your core and continue to innovate and always come up with products which are basically which are basically attractive and something which is endearing to consumers, and continue to invest in the brand, and I think all will be good.
So, thank you, Sanjeev. I will just give the summary of what we have spoken for last 1 hour. Uh, there are four core values that Sanjeev mentioned about Levi's at the beginning of the presentation, which is true even today. Uh, we spoke about how they have taken care of the front end, the back end, the vendors, the overall supply chain, how they have invested in technology, how the four pillars that they mentioned about was growth, expand for more, lead the omni-channel way, and then operational excellence. So these are the four pillars that we have heard today from Sanjeev. We heard about the sustainability part. We heard about customization part. We heard about the smart jacket, that the technology is embedded inside the jacket. They have tied up with Google. Then comes the collaborations, the tie-ups with Nike, Google, etc. Then the collaboration part that we spoke, the community engagement, how they are engaging the community, and overall we can see the resilience and the never give up attitude of the employees of Levi's. So in a nutshell, this is what makes the success of a brand like Levi's, which Sanjeev, you have articulated it very, very aptly today. And it has been wonderful talking to you, knowing your views, what's your current plans, what you plan to do going ahead, how invested you are in technology, your views on brands and what they should be doing as far as investment, etc., is concerned, how you have been targeting the consumers, and so on. So thank you very much for sharing all your knowledge and time with us today, Sanjeev. It is pleasure to have you here, and we'll meet again next time soon. Thank you everyone for being,
Thank you.
on this Leadership Dialogues webinar today, and we'll connect again in the coming days. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Hitesh.
Thank you. Welcome.